lovelies, and welcome back to another video.
Everywhere I go, I'm plant-based dripping.
So this is part 2 of my erythrophobia video. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll leave the link for it in the description box down below. Be sure to check out that one first. I was not expecting this series to be so emotional, but this video is a lot more positive, so I think I'll be able to get through this one without crying, hopefully. So in this video, I want to talk about how I overcame my severe blushing. So from grades 7 to grade 10, I experienced severe blushing, which had a massive negative impact on my life. It's what caused my depression, anxiety, low self-confidence, OCD behaviors, obsessive overthinking, and social anxiety. So in grade 11, I actually made the decision to homeschool, which was the best decision I ever could have made. So I did school through correspondence that year, and grade 11 was the year where I started to get my life back. So I was no longer in situations where I felt stuck. I was no longer sitting in a desk all day surrounded by other people. I no longer had to do presentations in front of a class. I no longer surrounded by tons of bright lights. So it was amazing to get out of the environment that really triggered my erythrophobia. So this was the year that I started my personal development journey. I started doing things that really pushed myself outside of my comfort zone. So I actually ended up getting my first job, which was at a fast food restaurant. And this was something that was not easy for me because I was so terrified of talking to my peers at school. So being put in a position where I had to talk to the general public was absolutely horrifying for me. So every single day after my job, I would just be in tears, crying, and I did not want to go back the next day because they had me on the cash register. So of course I had to interact with every single one of the customers. But this was really great for me because it actually forced me to talk to people on a daily basis, and they had like very strict guidelines. You had to be smiling the whole time during the interaction with other people, and you had certain things that you had to say to them, which I actually found really helped my erythrophobia because I discovered that as long as I continued talking to the individual, and just even though I felt my face turning red, if I just continued keeping eye contact with that person and talking to them, then I'd be so focused on what I had to say and so focused on the fact that I had to smile that I would forget about my fear of blushing. So my face would actually either not turn red, or it would turn red for a brief moment and then it would go away as I persisted talking to that person no matter what. It also really helped with my social skills because for many years I really fell behind socially because I would avoid social interactions at all cost. So I was not an articulate person whatsoever. So this job really helped me to develop my vocabulary, develop my communication skills, and develop my social skills with other people. It was also amazing because not being in the school environment just gave me a break from being absolutely embarrassed and mortified every day, and I could actually go weeks at a time for the first time in years without my face turning red. So it allowed me to experience what life was like without blushing every single day, which felt amazing. Because I did school by correspondence, I also had time to do a lot of other extracurricular activities. So I started doing rock climbing. I also started taking sewing classes. I took yoga, and this was also the year that I started dance. So I took jazz and hip hop because for years I had always wanted to take hip hop classes, but I was always too shy or embarrassed to go to a class. So when I was 16, this was the first time ever where I worked up the courage to take my first dance class, which was hard to do, especially because everyone was so much younger than me because I had started dance very late. But this was another huge step for me. I also realized that I was so much better at school when I taught it to myself rather than sitting in class trying to understand the teacher explain it to me. I realized that I actually understood school a lot better when I had to teach myself. So I actually finished all my courses months in advance and discovered what I was really good at. So I ended up really excelling in math and science. So when I went back to school in grade 12, I ended up getting 97% in grade 12 math. I got A's in science as well. I still have always struggled with social and English, but doing correspondence allowed me to really discover what I was good at. I also really discovered painting that year, so I did a lot of artwork during grade 11 and I realized that I loved doing that. I also started to think that I was going to go into fashion design because I started sewing my own clothing and I started doing a lot of clothing design sketches. And this was the year that I also went on my first diet, which definitely was a mistake because, as you guys know, going on my first diet led to chronic dieting, which led to disordered eating, which eventually led to my eating disorder. But this year was all about personal development for me. So through grade 8, grade 9, and grade 10, I had put on a lot of weight. So I decided that I wanted to go on my first diet because I thought that that would really help to boost my confidence again, which it definitely did. It definitely contributed to my personal development at the time. So in my grade 11 year, I lost 30 pounds. It was definitely a huge struggle that year still because I was going through a lot of changes and I was really pushing myself emotionally and socially because I was really going outside of my comfort zone. I also started listening to a lot of the law of attraction information and developed a vision board and developed goals and really started working towards those goals. So one of my biggest tips for overcoming erythrophobia is really pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and doing things that develop your confidence. I know it's so easy to want to hide and stay inside where you aren't judged from the world, where no one can see your red face and no one can see you being vulnerable, but you're not going to grow that way and you're not going to overcome your erythrophobia by hiding inside all day. However, it was really great for me to take that break from being in school and be in the comfort of my own home so that I could have days that were not absolutely traumatizing for me and have days where I was really focusing on self-care and working on my inner personal development at home rather than being in school. That was a very important part of my recovery from erythrophobia. So for grade 12, I went back to school because I wanted to graduate with my friends, and the erythrophobia did come back in grade 12, but it was getting better at that point because I had learned from grade 11 and from going to work every day that if I had worked at not caring about what people thought, and if I pushed through every single social interaction, even though my face was turning red, it would slowly get better. Like, even though you're in these social interactions and even though you feel your face turning red, you just stay in that social interaction, face them, don't put your head down, stay confident, and continue talking with purpose and with confidence. Because in the past I had a habit of putting my head down and making a really closed body position. Making yourself into a very small and closed position sends the message to your mind that you want to hide from the world and that you have low self-confidence and that you are not powerful. So what I discovered was sitting up straight, being in open positions, it sends the message to your mind that you are confident. And so when you're feeling confident, your face is less likely to turn red. What I found was that when people were talking to me, my face was more likely to turn red because I had time to think about my anxiety, about my blushing, and I had time to think about the other person looking at me, and I had time to think about them judging me. Whereas when I was talking, I had to be focused on what I was saying, and I didn't have time for my mind to race and think about all these things. So just know that, like, as you do this, the first times that you do this, your face will likely be red the whole time during this interaction, but as you persist and as you force yourself to stick with these social interactions and maintain good posture and be in an open position and keep your head up, you'll find that with time it becomes a lot easier to allow the blushing to come and then just allow it to pass. So another thing that really helps with this is meditation, because in meditation it gives your mind a break and it gives yourself a break from these obsessive overthinking thoughts. It also teaches you how to allow thoughts to come and then just release the thought, which is something that is key with erythrophobia. You have to allow the blushing to come, accept that it is there, and then just allow it to pass. Because what I have learned is that when you are worried about something, your mind identifies this as a threat to your survival, so it wants to keep you aware of it. If you tell your mind and you learn that blushing is not a threat and it is not something that you have to worry about, then your mind no longer sees it as a threat and it is no longer something that it continues reminding you about. So then you forget about it altogether and then you don't experience blushing. So a really key part to overcoming blushing is accepting it. Acceptance is so key in overcoming blushing. You have to acknowledge that you have this anxiety around blushing, and you have to accept your blushing and accept that it's a part of you in order to overcome it, which sounds kind of ironic that you have to accept the blushing and allow it to happen even more in order to overcome it. So similar to meditation, yoga is another thing that really helped me because it really allowed my mind to relax, and it gave me an hour a week where I wasn't anxious and I wasn't worried about my blushing. And I felt like it really relaxed me and it really set me up in a good mindset for the week. And the last thing that really helped me with my severe blushing was discovering makeup, which I can't believe I didn't discover until I was, I believe, 19 years old when I discovered foundation. This was like a massive revolutionary thing for me, discovering concealer and foundation, because I discovered that I could literally just cover up my blushing essentially. And so I literally remember crying tears of joy when I discovered makeup, because it was like I could completely erase this condition. I remember being really paranoid about it at first and literally like wearing concealer as foundation. It was like such a thick layer of makeup on my skin, but it was like such a freeing experience for me, because for the first time ever I felt like a whole new woman. I felt like I could do anything, because I could be in any situation, I could be in any bright room, I could be in front of a crowd of people, and I knew that even if my face turned red, no one would be able to see it. It was like such a revolutionary thing for me, because I was able to practice having social interactions without my face turning red. So it allowed me to practice having social interactions every day without having to worry about my face turning red. So eventually I forgot about my erythrophobia, and then one day I remember going out of the house without any makeup on, had a full interaction with someone, and then realized afterwards that I wasn't wearing any makeup and I had a full interaction with them without my face turning red, which was like so crazy to me, because I never thought that I'd be able to have a full-on face-to-face interaction with someone without my face turning red. Makeup was almost like the training wheels to learning how to interact with people without me blushing. And now to this day, I no longer wear concealer as a foundation. I now just wear like a light coverage foundation, and I know that people can probably see my red face through the small amount of foundation that I have on, but because I have worked on my personal development and I've really worked on building up my self-confidence and my communication skills again, I really no longer suffer with it to the extent that I have in the past. I still have some times where I'm not wearing makeup, and say I'm in a situation where I'm sitting like in a circle of people. That was like a huge fear of mine, was like circles of people, because everybody in the circle can see you. So, and like you feel like you can't leave the circle because everyone would notice. Sometimes I'd have classrooms where the teachers would arrange desks in a circle, or in gym class we'd have to sit in a circle, which was like the worst for me. So sometimes to this day, sitting in a circle still triggers those same thoughts and same anxiety that I had in the past, and sometimes my face does still turn red, but I remember to sit up, lift my face up, and just allow it to happen and pass and think about other things. It goes away because I'm not allowing myself to become embarrassed by it, and I'm just forcing myself to be confident no matter what happens and know that it is not the end of the world if my face turns red. So I no longer struggle with it to the extent that I did as a teenager. And makeup has also been a huge thing for me that has really helped me, because makeup is like a shield and it's almost like a safety blanket for me in a way, because I feel protected with makeup on, but I'm also happy that I'm able to not wear makeup in public as well and not suffer from erythrophobia because of my personal development and because of building up my social skills. So another one of my recommendations is actually starting a video diary, because it allows you to develop your communication skills and your social skills without having to talk to a real life person, and it allows you to see how you can improve on your communication as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that these tips were helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below, because I feel like I still haven't covered a lot and I haven't really gone into depth in a lot of things. So I could do future videos on this if you guys have any more questions. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Don't forget to be kind to yourselves, and until next time, peace out guys, bye.
Everywhere I go, I'm plant-based dripping. Got 'em want the new Bruce Lee. Roy, I got the glow. Kicking knowledge to your chick, I let her swim until she soaked. What she trying to